Hello, my name's Kathy Ketcher, and I've been helping organizations implement remote work for over 25 years. In this session, I'm going to be sharing best practices for managing time and setting boundaries when we're all working from home. There are many new realities in our lives today that weren't there just a short time ago. Today, we have to adapt to working from home at a rapid pace, and we need to settle into our new routine. So it'll be helpful for you to put some structures in place to help you maintain consistency and, most importantly, reduce anxiety and stress. To do that effectively, you're going to want to consider these key objectives: starting your day off on the right foot, creating a schedule, understanding when you're most productive, and then taking time off when you're not going home at the end of the day, and setting boundaries. By having a plan in place in all of these areas, you're going to be much more likely to stay healthy, happy, and engaged as we all navigate this new normal. To begin each day, it's important to do that as if you're heading to the office. Try to emulate the routine you had in place before you started working from home. To do this, it's a good idea to write down all the activities that were involved in starting your day before the outbreak. Did you work out in the morning or have breakfast with your family? Dress for your day or other rituals that helped you get off on the right foot. Decide which activities you want to keep and then figure out how you're going to do them in the new normal. For example, if you went to the gym every morning and that's no longer an option, maybe you switch to an exercise app or you go for a walk in the morning. A lot of the activities we do won't really have to change that much, so it's important to keep as much of your routine as possible to reduce stress and uncertainty. Then decide if there's any activities you'd like to add to the start of your day. If you're now living with your family 24/7, maybe during the weekday, consider starting out each day with a family breakfast where everyone can share their plans for the day. And lastly, begin your day as if you are heading to the office. Get dressed, get your beverage, and get ready to connect and collaborate. When we're working from home, many of the triggers that moved us into action are missing. So we need to be intentional about everything that we do. It's very easy to get pulled into the vortex of work only to sit up a few hours later and realize you haven't moved and you haven't eaten. So use your calendar to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. Along with your traditional meetings that you put into your calendar automatically, set reminders to reach out to colleagues that you would normally have connected with in the cafeteria or walking down the hall. If you used to have lunch with a group of people when you were in the office, go ahead and schedule a virtual lunch where you all can catch up on how you are doing, what are your current realities, share stories, and maintain that sense of belonging. Schedule breaks in your calendar or use an app that will prompt you to get up and move around because long stretches of inactivity have been linked to many chronic health conditions that include diabetes, cardiovascular disease, hypertension, and other chronic illnesses. A lot of sitting takes a toll on your physical health, and being sedentary will definitely impact your productivity as well as your overall mood. It's classic productivity advice. Match your most important work to your most productive hours. If you do that, you're going to get a lot more done. But this advice assumes you know when your most productive hours are. And you know what? Many people just don't. We're often stuck in a reactive mode, which may not give us the time we need to be familiar with our own internal rhythms. One way to do this is to write down how you spend your time and keep notes about how you felt while you're doing it. Be honest. Sometimes you can feel like you're really on a roll, and other times, well, other times you feel like it's time for a nap. By spending some time analyzing, focus patterns will show themselves, and you can schedule your important work at a time when you're at your peak performance. Working in time blocks may sound like a new idea to some people. Others may have been working in time blocks for years. Time blocking is a type of scheduling that can help you manage your time better. So instead of working by the clock, you can focus on finishing big and small tasks, just one at a time. This will help you limit distractions, get things done faster, and leave you less overwhelmed by a lengthy to-do list. To begin blocking your time, you first establish your high-level priorities and goals. This will shape what makes it into your schedule and how you want to block your day. An easy place to start is at the beginning and end of your day. For example, if you're doing your best work first thing in the morning, then that's when you'll schedule your most important projects, your focus work, and your team brainstorming. At the other end of the day, you may want to schedule a wind down period, followed by family time or an evening routine. With your bookends in place, it's time to take the same approach with the rest of your day. For many people, the appeal of time blocking is in setting aside long stretches of time for focus work, where you might be doing writing, designing, or coding. But you can't spend all day on focus. You need to find a balance. As you block out your times, remember to include both deep and shallow tasks. Deep tasks are that focus work I just described. Shallow tasks are the simple things that we need to do to stay caught up, like checking email, responding to messages, updating project plans, recording information, or sharing documents. Why this process has worked so well is that you schedule your most meaningful work when your attention and energy are naturally peaked, and do the easy or shallow tasks when you are lower energy. And it also reduces our tendency to multitask, which definitely cuts down on errors and increases clarity. Sometimes we feel that we should be available to our colleagues 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, especially when anxiety and uncertainty are heightened as they are today. So it's important that we schedule the time that we will be available for our work and when we're not going to be available. Decide ahead of time when you will manage your family responsibilities, run errands, or complete household tasks to prevent work from blurring into your home life. In the new normal, it's important to be flexible and willing to adapt as needed by putting your intentions in your calendar and then sharing this information with colleagues and family. This will help you maintain a sense of control and order. For example, if working from home for you involves caring for an elderly relative, then it's important to set aside time that you need to support this family member and share that information with your team. When we communicate and even over communicate, we reduce people's tendencies to wonder if we're meeting our work obligations. When we're working in silos like we are today, now is the time to be very transparent about what you need to get done and not feel guilty or hesitate to tell people what it is that you need. And then switch off at the end of the day from work to home life. Communicate with your team when you're done with the day. Most of us have likely received emails or messages from our work after hours or on weekends. With home and work literally happening in the same place, you should decide how and when you want to respond to after-hour requests. For example, if the best time for your manager to send emails is late at night, that's great. But they should also note that they don't expect a response. Talk with your team about their communication expectations. As a team, decide on response times and what the best way to reach each other is in case an urgent situation comes up, especially if something happens after hours. By planning ahead, you will be better able to keep your work from spilling into your personal time. When you're working from home, especially if you're living with family, you're going to need to set boundaries for both your family, your manager, and your colleagues. The best practices I've shared in this session are going to go a long way in helping you establish boundaries. And here's a few more ideas for managing your work when you're working from home. Communicate with your family any obligations that you must attend to during the workday. Maybe there's important meetings or deadlines or project work that must be managed without interruption. The unexpected is going to happen, so be prepared to be fluid and be flexible. Conversely, let your team and manager know about family obligations that you must support. Maybe it's sitting with your school agers as they adapt to this virtual learning environment, or getting children set up with an activity, or taking them outside for fresh air and exercise. Whatever the event is, communication is the best way to set expectations and reduce confusion. Give yourself permission to say no. Fear, guilt, and self-doubt are big potential pitfalls when trying to set healthy boundaries. We might fear the other person's response, or we might feel guilty by speaking up and saying no to family members. During this crisis, you might believe that you should be able to cope with any situation and say yes because you're a good teammate, a good parent, even though you might feel drained or taken advantage of. So give yourself permission to say no without guilt and maintain your healthy boundaries. I've shared a lot of best practices about managing your time and setting boundaries that include getting a good start to your day, creating a schedule, working in time blocks, making sure your schedule includes taking time off and establishing boundaries. I want to thank you for your time and attention, and I hope that you found this information helpful, and I wish you all the best as we work through this crisis together.